Hello, welcome to Regal in Real Life. I'm coming to you today to just quickly, with a short message, tell you to keep being authentic, keep being you, keep unmasking. Don't let anybody tell you that you should stay in line or fit in a box. Be yourself. I have had some recent experiences where I have learned that actually, where I thought I needed to try and fit in, try and conform to others that were around me, I realized that my personal strength and power is my difference. I realized that my personal strength and power is my voice. Okay, let's open up that throat chakra. Let's speak on the things that we observe, the issues that we see. Okay, you are going to feel so empowered, right? All of that negative energy that you are holding in at your job, at your workplace, wherever it is that you are experiencing perhaps microaggressions, bullying, toxicity, whatever it is. Let's hear your voice, okay? Speak up. Stand up for yourself. I cannot tell you. At the beginning of the week, I was in tears. I was crying. I was feeling like hopeless. I don't know what to do. How am I going to get myself out of this environment? Can I get myself out of this environment? Am I letting go of a dream? Am I giving up on myself if I allow people to get to me? Right? That's where I was. Monday. That's where I was. Okay. By Friday, there was a whole 360, okay? And can I tell you why? It's because I expressed myself. I didn't hold it in. I said what needed to be said, whether people wanted to hear it or not. I spoke my truth. And through speaking my truth, I don't know what it was, but the energy just shifted. Things just changed. I went from feeling completely hopeless to feeling protected, to feeling supported, to feeling empowered, right? I learned so much about myself in this short space of a week. So much about myself. And honestly, I'm quite shocked because I feel like I know myself quite well. But what I hadn't realized is how much I was still holding on to this idea of people pleasing and wanting to not rock the boat, wanting to be liked, wanting to not come across as the stereotypical Black woman playing the race card, you know, creating problems, being problematic, being toxic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I realized how much I allow stereotypes or not wanting to be the stereotype lead my life still, even in this big old age of mine. Okay. So, yeah, this week I said, absolutely not. No more. This is how people silence you. Okay. These tropes, these stereotypes, they exist for a reason, and that is to silence us as Black women, to make us feel that we don't want to speak up, that we don't want to um, challenge somebody, to make us feel that we should just take whatever it is that we are given, whatever treatment it is that we receive, and we should just lie down and just accept it. Because if we don't lie down and accept it, we are going to be seen as the problematic one. I've had my colleague crying at work, and we all understand how that might be perceived when you have a white female colleague crying at work because of some interaction that you've had with them. So I had this very much in the back of my mind in terms of how I was to move forward with the different challenges that I've been having, you know, because I'm quiet, I'm quite reserved. I can get on with people, I can have a laugh, I can have a joke, but generally I am, I keep to myself. I'm quite private, and I've not always been that way, but I have learned through past experiences in workspaces that actually that is the way that I feel most comfortable. That is the way that I feel most regulated. That is the way that I feel most safe. And that is just what I would like to do moving forward in my work life. It's really hard actually sometimes because I am a very open person. I'm a friendly person. I enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy supporting people. And And of course, we all need to support ourselves at times. But yes, within this space, subconsciously, I've gone the other way because I have had so many experiences where I have been misconstrued or misinterpreted, um, or I've seen that happen to others. And I've just decided that work is work, and that is what it is. And that's not because I don't like the people that I work with. It is just, I mean, we're at different stages, ages of life. We can have a laugh, we can have a joke, and it's nice. And you know what? Actually, this week at work, after expressing myself, after vocalizing, instead of just isolating myself and pulling back my energy or, distancing from people, I expressed myself. And I was so concerned that I was going to be feeling some type of way because I had done this. But what I felt was lighter. I felt this heavy weight just come off of me. I was able to laugh. I was able to smile. I was able to have a joke. I was able to focus on something that was not just work, as in I was able to engage with my colleagues and peers and smile and have fun and not just be thinking, you know, about negative things. And that was really nice. But I think it all stemmed from the fact that I was very open. I expressed all of the things that I had been experiencing with certain members of my team. And I was heard and I was validated and I was supported through that process. And that made all the difference to me. Growing up with trauma and experiencing some of the worst betrayals from the people who are supposed to be the people who protect you the absolute most, I find it very hard to trust at times. And I know that impacts how I move through life, how I see individual situations, and I will always be a wary person. I will always be a person who goes, I'm not sure about that. That is who I am inherently, and I accept that as a part of who I am. And often I'm not far wrong in my intuition. I have a high level of discernment when it comes to individuals and people, and yes, I'm never far wrong. And so I do trust that instinct. However, sometimes, where I used to be a person who would give everybody the benefit of the doubt and be very open until otherwise proven that I shouldn't be, I'm now the opposite of that, where I'm a little bit more guarded and a little bit more closed off until I know that someone is trustworthy or someone is a positive person that I would like to, enter or allow full access in my life and into my personal life, if you will. Which again, I'm less inclined to do with people at work anyway now, but in general, that is now how I go about things. Whereas before I was quite naive and I would go the opposite and I would say, well, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt until they give me a reason not to. And I think that was always, not quite the best way to go about things, because oftentimes people would, let you down, and show you that they didn't deserve that level of trust or even support from you that you gave to them. So anyway, I'm digressing now, but what I will say is I am feeling very much empowered, even though it has been a highly stressful week in terms of work, and work-life balance has not been great. But what I will say is, through speaking, through opening my throat chakra, through allowing what I was feeling on the inside to be expressed on the outside, honestly, openly, professionally, as much as I could, I felt a shift. I just felt a shift. And I realized, you know what? As a tokenized Black woman, minoritized person within my team, within my faculty, it is not on me to be the only person to care about wanting to make difference, to care about making processes equitable, to care about student experiences. That is the job of everyone. And I shouldn't just hold that in. I should share that load. Of course, it's upsetting, it's invalidating when you share something or you share what a student has shared with you and it's not taken forward and there's nothing done with that information. However, you cannot begrudge people for not doing something when you haven't shared your observations or what you've seen or what you've heard or all of those things, whether that be a student experience or your own experience. You cannot begrudge. I often see things so clearly and I expect other people do the same. And that's not always the case. People have so many different things going on. They are just, especially in this kind of role, it's not always the case that your leadership or your, seniors or your mentors or whomever are going to see everything, because they aren't everywhere and they've got a lot of other things that they're dealing with. And I think what I found was actually upon speaking out, being open, um, things can be seen. Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't a level of wanting things not to come to the forefront, because actually that creates challenge and stress and worry and concern, and it's a bigger issue. It's like let's, if we can get on with things and sweep things under the rug, let's do that. But ultimately, that is not something that I feel comfortable with, and I will never feel comfortable with that, because when it comes to certain things, those are high values of mine, and I feel an ethical responsibility to myself, to students, and that's what my drive is. I think my drive is that being able to support students, being able to make processes more fair, more equitable, being able to highlight wrongs when they're being done, and that really inspired me this week. Even though it was a hard week, even though my days were much longer, even though I'm behind on my work, being able to correct a wrong that was done or being done, um, made it all worthwhile. So, for those of us out there who are trying to fight this good fight, who are trying to advocate for, equity, inclusion, diversity, representation, fairness, anti-racism, decolonization, all of these things. For those of us who are trying to do that work, keep doing that work, right? But don't do that work alone. Find a network, find a group, find like-minded individuals who you can go to for support, who understand and will validate you in a world that won't always see or understand what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, or the importance of it. I am a Black woman. It's very important to me that there is equity and that students are treated fairly and that they are able to be awarded what they should be awarded, because of the hard work that they put in, just like any other student. For me, it is important that their experiences are fair, are equitable, and enjoyable. This is a time that our students should be enjoying. It's not a time that they should be hypervigilant, that they should be fearful, that they should be worrying, that they should be having to code switch or monitor themselves because they are worried about the perceptions of staff, and how they will be seen or how they will be treated. For me, it is wrong. It is just, that's the first thing it is wrong. And it's inequitable. So for me, this week showed me that whilst there's high stress, high pressure, and I have been feeling high stress and pressure, and I have been dealing with some challenging colleague dynamics, support is there, it's available. Speaking up is important. Advocating for myself and others is important. And I think that's just what I'm going to continue to do until I feel that I can't do it anymore, I guess. Or I would like to be able to say until things change and are improved for the better and they're amazing and perfect. But I know that things never will be perfect. But as long as things are moving forward and people are learning and we're growing as a society, I think that's all that we can ask for. But unfortunately, I think what we're all seeing a lot of is actually that we're moving backwards, that we're descending into absolute chaos and a world where people are being more and more dehumanized, more and more mistreated, and disparity in so many different areas: education, healthcare, employment, everywhere. those disparities are those gaps are widening. They're not closing. They're not getting better. So, now more than ever, our voices as advocates are so important. And although the work is hard and sometimes very lonely when you are tokenized and you're the only person within your team potentially doing that work or highlighting the issues, I guess I just want to say, keep doing it, keep highlighting it, keep pushing, keep sharing, and find community that understands, because that's going to make this road a lot less heavy. Anyway, thanks for joining me for another chat. Stay regal in real life. Don't let people bring you down to their level. I always think, do I agree? When they go low, we go high. I used to think, no. But what I realized and what I learned this past few weeks is that karma is real. Sometimes you don't have to do anything at all. People will do it to themselves. And sometimes you just got to let that happen. You just got to let that happen. However it happens, you don't have to get your hands dirty. You don't have to do anything, because people who are essentially unkind, inequitable, unfair, it will show. It will eventually show. They will show themselves. I used to think that being calm and remaining calm in situations was, going to be helpful. It was going to help de-escalate a situation. It was maybe going to get people to leave me alone, to treat me better, et cetera, et cetera. I used to think that. But what I've found actually, as I've aged, is actually that calmness actually triggers people. It antagonizes them in a way that they become so unhinged that they just tell on themselves. So allow them to do that. Okay. Allow them to do that, and don't let people bring you out of your grace, your power. Maintain your control, maintain your composure, because that in itself gives you a sense of power in a situation that you may feel powerless in or hopeless in, like I was feeling at the beginning of this week. By maintaining my composure, by not allowing people to see how hurt I was by that situation or how much it had impacted me, I was able to maintain a sense of power within that situation. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't go and express my feelings to safe, supportive people. I did do that, and it's necessary to do that. But what I mean is, the individuals who were, trying to make me feel a certain way, or who I felt targeted by at this time, did not get to see that what they were doing was having its impact in the way that I'm sure they intended it to have. So, yeah, you can maintain your composure and your power and still seek support, and come out the other side feeling like you've done it. You've managed. You've coped. And so, yeah, I'm proud of myself this week. I'm proud of myself because I think maybe a few years ago, maybe even a few months ago, I would have probably just said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm just not going to deal with this kind of behavior, and I'm going to hand in my resignation, or I'm going to start looking for a new job, and all of those different things. Now, whilst I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have not had those thoughts all week, for the past 2 weeks, I have had those thoughts repetitively, and I wondered if that is what I needed to do. For me, I guess the growth is that I actually spoke up. I spoke up for myself. I spoke up for students. I advocated. I didn't just let the thing that was bothering me, that was upsetting me, I didn't just let it go, And what I realized is, sometimes we can raise an issue, we can raise a challenge, we can discuss that, we can deal with it, and then we can keep it moving. We don't need to, it doesn't have to be anything more than that, unless it needs to be, obviously. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for stopping by to listen to my TED Talk. If there's copyright, I'm not sure about that. But yes, obviously, this is not a TED Talk. But thank you for stopping by anyway. And I hope you'll come back for some more chats about life and basically getting through life. So, yeah, thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.